I'll like do something and then I'll be like, immediately it's like this learned pattern. I'll be like, oh, get rid of that. Take that out. And then I know I have to keep that in. Like with emojis, I like love emojis, but I feel like in my head, my mind, when I'm in my mind, it's like, oh, emojis aren't cool. When I'm in my heart and I'm just like responding to people and I'm like posting and I'm in my heart, I'm like emoji, heart, happy face, you know, skulls, like chef's kiss, da 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 da. But then I'm like, oh, that's like embarrassing, like delete, delete, delete. And then I'm like, no, actually keep it, keep it, keep it. You know, so it's like this reprogramming that I'm going through. Welcome to the vlog. Also my good side. Bell's palsy really gives meaning to good side versus not. Just kidding, they're both good. We love ourselves wherever we are on our journey. Today's video is obviously about confidence, but I'm also gonna walk you through my morning routine because when I asked on Instagram stories what kind of vlogs you guys want, everybody said morning routine, how-tos. I want to see like what your day looks like. So today I'm showing you the full morning routine, and then we're going to talk about confidence, specifically how to be confident as an entrepreneur, as somebody building a business or a brand, and maybe you're going through health challenges, you're maybe redefining yourself, maybe you're starting from scratch today, whatever that is. I'm so glad that you're watching this video and I hope that it inspires you. I'm sharing some tips that have really been helpful for me, and it's also going to be like entertaining, you know, entertainment. So enjoy. You might be wondering what a morning routine has to do with confidence, but honestly, I am the most confident when I feel good mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. My morning routine hits on all of those things. I'm going to walk you through it. So I start with meditation, and sometimes I do a silent meditation where it's just me going within, connecting, slowing down my thoughts if my thoughts are really busy or if I feel worried or anxious. And then other times I'm doing chakra work like we teach in Inner Health Flow and really running the inner flow. It just depends on what I need that day. I never check my phone in the morning. I feel like it really brings my vibe down. It gets me out of my body and into my mind. And I like to think of my morning as a time for me to connect with myself, for me to get centered before I start interacting with the rest of the world. Next thing I do is some journaling. And my journaling consists of intentions for the day as well as what I'm grateful for. My morning routine might seem extensive, but honestly, you can shorten the amount of time you're spending on each of these things. And just like anything, the more you do something, the more you find your rhythm. And so for me, like I can whip through journaling in less than 5 minutes. Okay, we are going to do a card spread this morning, and this is going to be for all of us, for you and for me and everybody watching this video. So this is the deck that I'm using. I'll link it below. It's tarot cards, and we're going to do a shuffle. And I do it the way that they, explain in the book, to do 3 stacks and then cut it. I'll show you guys. The 9 of Cups. This is a good card. You can tell from the energy. Okay, I'm gonna read it. The 9 of Cups, bliss and harmony. At last, the card of wishes come true. When the 9 of Cups appears, worries and fears will be cast away. A new phase of peace, harmony awaits. The world seems to be granting you every wish. Good health, happiness, and even material gains are heading your way. Enjoy. Okay, this is an awesome card, my friend. Very good card. Good one for all of us. I'm very happy about this. I always put the card that I pull on my altar so I can be reminded of the message, also with little pictures of myself so I can be reminded of my inner child, the little Sarah inside of me. Be kind to her. And then some of my favorite crystals, and I switch them up. Set my prayer intention for the day. I really like this one. My friend Adina got it for me. Time for some movement. I love working out at home because it's so convenient. After I hurt my back, I stopped looking at workouts as a way to look a certain way, and more so a way for me to take care of my body. I remember I used to judge myself for only doing a 10-minute or 15-minute YouTube video instead of an hour-long workout video. Now I'm doing a lot of mobility. I'm doing a lot of qigong in the mornings. I really like to focus on getting my energy flowing. I want to feel alive. I want to feel connected and like I'm taking care of my body. That's pretty much the point of my morning movement. I think it's important to find a way to move that really feels good to you, and know that that will probably change over the years. My exercise has changed a lot. I remember when I first started getting into health and wellness, Peter and I would go for like a 6-mile run at 6 a.m. every day. I can't imagine doing that now. So my point is, find the workout, find the movement that feels good to you. Although I will say, I do recommend, if you haven't tried including some mobility or weights, really important. I never realized how out of balance and out of alignment my body was just doing yoga and running. The mobility has really helped my body. Now I do weights in the evening with Peter. It's our way of switching out of work mode and into home mode. Home mode, I guess. I don't know. It's tricky when you literally work and live with your partner at home. We do everything at home. And so having some things like our evening workout creates a little bit of routine, and it just makes it seem like our days aren't crazy or like it's just one big long work day, Groundhog's Day on repeat. You know what I mean? All right, I'm gonna show you a simple smoothie that I'm making today. This is very unusual of a smoothie for me because it's very simple. So how I do like my morning routine and breakfast is I start with a lot of liquid. So I start with lemon water, then I do green juice. You can see my juicer over there. And then I do, when I start to get hungry, I do fruit, like raw fruit. Like lately, we've been doing like peaches because it's summer, with berries like blueberries or raspberries. I just got some blackberries. Look at these. One thing I love about California is all the produce year round, but the grocery store that we shop at really supports local plants, and so I got these super fresh blackberries. I do fruit, then latte. Like I make the fruit bowl and latte at the same time. I don't do coffee, so I do like roasted dandelion teas with cacao, or I do matchas. Peter and I alternate caffeine, so we're not doing caffeine every day, so we don't become reliant on it, which is really important because I just noticed if I do caffeine every single day, I start to feel like it's not enough and I need more. And then when I take a break, I feel really flat, is like the best way I can describe it. So yeah, that's what I do. And then I'll do a smoothie after that, and I kind of like drag it out throughout the day. I know this isn't accessible for people who don't work from home, but because I work from home, I can just like pop down here, make something, and then get back to work. So today I actually kind of switched it up because I made these muffins last night and Peter said they were so good, but I didn't get to try one. And so when I got hungry, I was like, I'm just gonna have a muffin and then I'll do a smoothie. And so now I'm like pretty full, but I am ready for a little bit more, and then I want to be hydrated. So I'm gonna do like a really light hydrating smoothie, but I want to show you the muffins. I totally nailed it with this muffin recipe. So it's banana muffins with chocolate chips. And I think I tried something different. I blended half of the batter. The batter had oatmeal in it, and I blended half of it. If you haven't tried blended oats, and like, I'll put a recipe below, but blended oats is amazing, and then baked, it's like you're eating a cake. I wanted to try to do the same thing with muffins, and I succeeded. They're so good, but I didn't write down a recipe or anything, so I can't share them yet. But if you guys are interested, let me know in the comments and I'll make them again, and then I'll share the recipe. They're gluten-free, vegan. That's always going to be the case with the recipes that I'm eating. Made with coconut sugar, not a lot of ingredients, not a lot of fat, but really good. Okay, let's do the smoothie. So super simple smoothie. I'm using kale. Peter taught me this trick to take off the stems. Obviously you can use the stems. We have a juicer so we can juice them, so it's not like it's going to waste, but this just makes your smoothie less bitter. I'm making a double, so Peter can have some too, but you could make less if it's just yourself. Usually when I make smoothies, I'll add like berries or like almond butter or chia seeds. They're really like loaded up, but like I said, I want something just hydrating and really refreshing. So we have some frozen bananas. I'm gonna do, this is homemade almond milk. Peter makes this every week for us, which is really nice. No gums or gunk in it, just very wholesome. And then I'm gonna add some coconut water to make it even more hydrating. Some cinnamon. I love cinnamon. And then ice, because I want it like really cold. And then blend. That's it. Easy, easy, easy. And I kind of rotate between thick smoothies and thin smoothies. Let me know in the comments what you prefer. But like I was saying, like today, I feel like hydration is like what I'm all about and what I'm here for. So that's, I want a thinner smoothie, but sometimes I want just like flavor and I'd want a thicker smoothie. Just really depends what you're going for. All right, there you have it. One thing you should know about me is I'm a fast smoothie drinker. Literally from the time I was downstairs up here talking to Peter, and it's gone. It's a problem. Okay, so today, my friend, we are talking about confidence and confidence in business, whether you are just starting out or you've been at it for a while, but something has shaken your confidence, right? So for me, I've been building businesses since 2014. I've been an entrepreneur since then. And when I first started out, I remember feeling this fear of failure, which is very common. And just thinking like, how is this going to work out? Because when you are a new entrepreneur, especially if you're a personal brand, a creator, a coach, and you are selling your coaching or you're building a course and you're selling a course, it seems like really far out there to believe that somebody that you don't know, people would always tell me when I was working as a business coach for health coaches, they would always say like, I really want like to reach a stranger. It's all my friends and family. I really want to reach a stranger. And it seems really far out there when you're starting your business to have a stranger like pay you money, especially someone like you don't know, which I guess is the definition of a stranger, right? And so what I was feeling was like, how is this ever going to work, right? And I would say like creating something from nothing is a big undertaking, right? It is really hard for your mind to conceive if you've never done it before and you struggle with confidence. However, once that happens, once you do it, it doesn't seem so far-fetched. It becomes a lot easier, which is why a lot of new entrepreneurs struggle with confidence the most, because they are starting something brand new that they've never done before, and your confidence doesn't always transfer over. Maybe you were really confident in college, you were really confident in your job, you're really confident in your relationship, but then when it comes to building a business, all of a sudden you're like, where the heck did that confidence go, right? And even for me, like, I've always been pretty confident, but then like the last 2 years have been so wild for me. If you follow me on social media or get my emails, then you know this. Like I had a back injury, a back situation that I had to work through that made me feel really weak and small. Like when you're in pain a lot of time, if you ever dealt with a chronic illness or anything like that, that can shake your confidence. And then recently I've been dealing with bells, which you can see from my face. And that, you know, not being able to recognize your face, like that can really shake your confidence as well. And so it's just been interesting for me to like realize that confidence is something that you may have to work on again, even though you've already worked on it in the past. It can come and it can go. And especially if you are doing something new, even changing businesses. Maybe you had a business where you were doing something and then you're shifting, right? And I wrote down this quote and I shared it on my Instagram because I really like it. I mean, it's not a quote, it's just like a saying. It gets easier with experience. Give yourself time to learn and grow. And this is important for me as I transition into doing different offerings and different types of work, but also for my community. So if you're starting something new, really be gentle with yourself, give yourself compassion. And today I want to share a few tips for you that have really helped me that I think will be really supportive for you as well. So the first one that I want to talk about is a spiritual practice. That is really what had Peter and I create this YouTube channel, was having a spiritual awakening. So for me, when I was struggling with my back and in a lot of pain, I was going to all of these specialists and all of these doctors and I wasn't getting any better. Like no matter what I did, I was having like injections and taking medication, all the stuff that I normally wouldn't do as like my crunchy hippie self. But I was in so much pain and so desperate that I was like, I'll try literally anything, like whatever you think will work. And nothing was working. And I think it was because my soul was like, this girl needs a shift. She needs to wake up. She needs to tap in to her higher self. She needs to reconnect with me, right? You got to stay connected to your soul. That is like why we are here on this earth, is to grow and evolve and live out our life's purpose. Everyone has a life purpose. If you are here today, you have a life purpose. There's a reason why you're here on this earth at this time. And so, yeah, so I was losing like all hope and like getting better. It was a dark time. I was very depressed. And that's when I found spirituality. And I learned that there is more to this universe than what we had been taught. That, you know, death isn't something to be feared, that there are guides and spirits that you can turn to for support and for help. And especially for you, if you're a business owner and you're like, man, like I need help with clients or I need help with marketing, like ask your angels, your guides, ask them for help, ask them for support in that area, and they will deliver if you ask for them. And I know some people might be watching this and not believe in it. If this isn't for you, that's totally fine. It wasn't for me. I was telling Peter, I was like, it's so interesting. I remember influencers talking about star seeds and aliens and you know, different dimensions and different universes, and I just was like, I'm not into that. This was in like 2017. I was like, I know, like that is weird, that is different, that is creepy. I was judging it. I was very judgmental back then, which I didn't even realize at the time. And so you might not be ready for this either, and that's fine. But that's only one of my tips. One of my tips is a spiritual practice, right? Learning why you're here will help you so much. It will help restore your faith. It will help give you purpose. And honestly, when you learn that your only job is to evolve and grow, it takes some of the pressure off. You don't put so much pressure on yourself. You don't have to get it right, because you're not here to, you know, make the most amount of money or make all these people proud or live up to society standards. You are literally here to become the best version of yourself. You know what I mean? And the best version of yourself is kind, is gentle, is compassionate, is understanding, is working through triggers, right? That is the whole point of being here. So having a spiritual practice can help a lot. That really helped me through this process when I have been dealing with bells, you know, like people will say, like I'll post on TikTok and I'll have comments that are like, oh, but like if bells sticks around for years for you, like you're probably not going to be as happy. And I honestly, I mean, I don't know, but I would hope that I would still have the same attitude. And personally, I don't think it will stick around because I'm very in tune with my body. And I feel like I just like don't feel that for me. But also like if it does, you know, then it's perfect. That's what's supposed to be, because I believe that everything happens for a reason. And as soon as we stop trying to force and control everything, it just gets so much easier. I noticed with my back, it would be painful, right? And we can have pain, but I was struggling so much because I made up this story of like, what if I never can walk again? Like, what will my life be like? It will be so limited. I'll never be able to go backpacking. I'll never be able to go to the grocery store. Like, I'll never be able to have kids. Like, all of these things, like, that is suffering, and that is optional, right? That is optional. So really, like, having a spiritual practice helped me so much. But then there is more. You got to have more than that, right? Because when I had this spiritual practice and I had this knowing, but I was still having a hard time showing up. I noticed that when I first was experiencing bells, I was just like overthinking everything. And maybe you can relate. I was like, oh, like, should I post about this? No, I don't want to do that. Or I would be like, okay, I have this idea, like, I'm going to run with it. And then a few days later, I'd be like, oh, this is a terrible idea, right? I was stuck in what I call procrastination prison, where you just can't move forward. You move a little bit forward, but you're just not getting it all the way done. And you're just back where you started every few days. And it just feels like you're stuck. And that is when I was like, oh, I think I'm supposed to create something to help other people work through this. And this is where the 30-day confidence mini course comes in, and where like the fresh start method was developed. If you're interested, I'll link it in the comments or in the description below. You can check it out. I would love to have you. It's a 30-day confidence program, and it walks you through the fresh start method, walks you through how to get your confidence back, how to do the inner work to work through like what it is at the core, limiting beliefs, your ego that's keeping you from moving forward with your business and reaching your goals. So yeah, spiritual practice was good, but then I also noticed we need more than that, right? So spiritual practice would be like my first tip for you, highly recommend. And then if you're struggling with comparison, so this is a big one when it comes to confidence. Maybe you're looking at what other people are doing online. Maybe you're comparing yourself to like a friend who's like further along than you, or whatever it is. Just compare it. It can be any type of comparison. This tells me that you are too much in your mind, right? You are thinking, you are making up stories about this. You know, she's more successful than me. That means I'm less than. Oh, this person did it like this. They did a really great job. Nobody's going to want to buy my thing, work with me. Like, oh, this product's already out there. You know what I mean? It's like you're in your mind. You're telling yourself this story, kind of like I was talking about with my back, and like adding this extra suffering that is unnecessary. And so the practice that I want for you is to move from your mind to your heart, right? And I talk about this a lot in my programs, and we have some meditations on it. If you're interested in more, we can put one on YouTube. But this is just, and you can just do it with your intention, right? We have like guides that walk you through it, but you can just do it with your intention. Like, oh, I'm like overthinking, I'm in my mind. What does it feel like to be in my heart? You know, and just kind of visualize yourself going down into your heart. And the reason that you want to do that is because the mind and the ego is very critical, right? It wants to keep you safe. It's judgmental. It makes up stories. If you haven't reprogrammed your mind can be very limiting. It can keep you stuck. It repeats the same thoughts unless you include and do exercises that reprogram and add new positive thoughts that move you forward to where you want to go. And so when you shift from your head to your heart, you'll notice that you are more inspired. You have new ideas. It's easier to show up. You celebrate others. This is crucial, right? Like opening your heart, sending love to your heart, like being gentle with yourself, then it allows you to be gentle with other people. So just pay attention if you're like, oh yeah, the reason I struggle with confidence is because I compare myself to everyone else. Just start having this subtle awareness of when you are in your mind versus moving to your heart and the story that you're telling yourself. If it's judgment, if you're like, oh, I just like don't want them to judge me. I don't want to like look stupid. I don't want them to like speak poorly about me. Maybe it's like friends or family. Or like you don't want to get it wrong. I would ask yourself, like, if you're worried about judgment from others, what kind of judgment are you putting out? Are you judging other people? Are you judging yourself? Because as soon as you stop doing that, you'll notice other people aren't judging you as much, right? So that is something I would say if it's judgment. Another thing that I would look at is, what does your inner self-talk look like? Like, what kind of conversations are going on in your head? Is it judgmental? Is it really critical? Because if you notice that you have low vibrational thoughts, or you're like never doing a good enough job, I was kind of surprised that when I slowed down and started really doing this inner work, that my inner dialogue like wasn't as kind as I would have hoped, because I am definitely like a positive affirmations girl and like really don't speak negatively about myself in front of others. But I noticed like my internal dialogue and just kind of like my overall being towards myself was kind of like never enough. It's never good enough. You could do more. Really like treating my self like a robot. Like I'm just here to like do things, do the next thing, accomplish the next goal, be of service to everybody else, rather than really being loving towards myself. Like, hey, like you're actually doing like a really good job. Like what sounds good to do for you for the rest of the day? What would fill up your cup today? It might seem weird to like talk to yourself and do that, but I think it's really important. And especially if you didn't have a lot of that growing up, you probably heard the term, I feel like it's so popular now, inner child work, inner child healing. And I grew up with parents who weren't really around, and so I definitely had to do a lot of reparenting, and I can do a whole video on this if you guys are interested, but just like the easiest way to describe it is just like start thinking about yourself as a child, and like how would you speak to yourself? How would you take care of yourself? Like seeing the little version of myself, right? And being like, what does she need today? Like what does she want to do? Like is that like when I'm thinking about myself and like judgment, like what if I'm talking to her or as her and it's like, hey, like you're not doing a good enough job today, like don't show up today, like you don't look a certain way, you know what I mean? It's like immediately I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. That feels awful. That feels so out of alignment. I would never tell a child that. So why am I telling myself that? Because inside all of us is a little child. The last message that I want to share with you today is that there is no one way to run a successful business. And I think the worst thing that we do is we see somebody else running their business successfully, what we consider successful. That's another thing, like deciding what success means to you. Like, how would you describe success? How will you know when you are successful? Because if you listen to my podcast, I talk about, you know, scaling and just like wanting to like build this really big business and like building this team. And I think like success for me meant having a team and making a certain amount of money and all of those things. But what happened was I did that and then I didn't feel happy with it. I actually felt terrible with it and I wanted out. So I didn't really take the time to think about like, what do I want my life to look like when I reach my goal? How do I want to be spending my time? And like, how do I truly define a successful business? What does that look like for me? Because it looks different for everybody. And so I just think that one thing that we do is we see other people having success and we're like, oh, like if I could just be a little bit more like that, then that means I'll be successful. But what happens is if that is not your magic, your secret sauce, if that is not your specialty, how you want to show up, like your personality, it's going to be really hard for you to show up that way. And you're probably not going to show up that way, or you're not going to be able to be consistent with that, or you're going to resent it, or it's just not going to work out because that is not really who you are. So I really encourage you to show up as your truest self when it comes to business, and just know that you can have success even if it looks different, if your personality, if your style is so different than everybody else. And honestly, I really like that, because to me it's like, oh, they're just like being them, and like that is our superpower. Like we are all so unique and different. And that's not to say if you're like, oh, but I actually am really like you, Sarah, like this is how I am too and how I think too, like that's awesome. You're naturally gonna have a little bit of a different flair, different perspectives. Like that is just like how we are as souls. Like we are connected, we are all one, we have a lot of similarities, but we too have a lot of differences too. So one thing that I do is if I'm going to post on social media, or I'm writing something out, or, you know, I'm wanting to like do something that I'm going to share with this beautiful community, I'll like do something and then I'll be like, immediately it's like this learned pattern. I'll be like, oh, get rid of that, take that out. And then I know I have to keep that in. Like with emojis, I like love emojis, but I feel like in my head, my mind, when I'm in my mind, it's like, oh, emojis aren't cool. When I'm in my heart and I'm just like responding to people and I'm like posting and I'm in my heart, I'm like emoji, heart, happy face, you know, skulls, like chef's kiss, da 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 da. But then I'm like, oh, that's like embarrassing, like delete, delete, delete. And then I'm like, no, actually keep it, keep it, keep it. You know, so it's like this reprogramming that I'm going through. But I think it's really important, those things that you're like, that are so you and that you want to do, but then you're like, oh, society tells me they're not cool, or social media tells me it's not cool. It's like, keep those in, because that is like what makes you unique. And like, for me personally, that is what I am so drawn to. All right, my friend, I'm going to close out this vlog here, but just remember to take care of yourself. The only way that you can fail is if you disconnect from your soul, if you're not taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, right? All of that deserves you. There's no one way to run a business, and doing the work that I'm talking about on this channel, like the inner work and really discovering like who you are and what you want to be known for, like this will allow you to step into your most confident self. It will allow you to be successful in anything that you do. And remember, like, you can always ask for help. You can ask for help from people in your life, but you can also ask for help from people in the higher realms. They are available to you and willing to help. So I love you. Thanks for being here. I'm sending you a big virtual hug, high vibes. And if you like this, please subscribe, leave a comment below and let me know